Welcome to the Borough Life podcast with James and Rosie.
Every month we chat to local guests to celebrate the great things happening in and around Wigan Borough. Let's get started, shall we?
Hello and welcome back to the Borough Life podcast with James and Rosie. Rosie, we've got loads coming up on this episode, so I reckon we should just get going. Who have we got coming on?
So we've got an interview with Jane Daniels, who's a world champion motorcyclist who was born in Standish. And then we meet up with Michaela and Sarah, who are the two women behind Petals of Positivity.
Yeah, it's a brilliant episode. We've really enjoyed recording it. And Rosie, you'll hear me throughout saying about the fact that the Borough Life magazine is out now. We're really excited about it. Jane is our cover star. So yeah.
It gets a lot of mentions, but rightly so. As you say, it's a really exciting time for us. So without further ado, should we start?
Let's go for it. So welcome back to the Borough Life podcast. Myself and Rosie are back in our usual recording studio in Wigan Town Centre. And we're joined by our cover star for the Borough Life magazine this time round. So Jane Daniels, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Jane Daniels. I'm from Standish and I'm a professional motorbike racer and I've been racing for 17 years.
So Jane, we've just been talking about the photo shoot that we did for the magazine, and you know it's an amazing image that we've got on that front page. Now, please, could you explain why people might recognise you and like what your career is?
Yeah, it's an amazing cover photo. I'm not that moody in person. I'm far more friendly than what that picture looks. But no, it's quite an empowering photo. But no, I'm a professional motorbike racer, and it's taken me to many countries, many places, interesting places. It's been an absolute adventure, to say the least. It's been absolutely great. So yeah, people might recognise me maybe from social media because I know that's a lot more popular these days. But also, I managed to visit the mayor about a month ago, so that was really nice. I went and had some lunch with him, and yeah, I think I've been working a little bit with you guys in the council, so you've been pushing me a little bit too, so everyone might have just seen me there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think you maybe been a bit humble there about your career. So multiple world champion.
Yeah.
Could you describe to us, myself and Rosie were just chatting on the way actually about how would you describe, so it's the enduro competition?
I race a discipline called enduro, which is like a little bit of a mix of everything. So it's like motocross, trials, and then obviously enduro side thrown in. And it's like the technical aspect of trials, the speed of motocross, but then the endurance side of enduro. And we can race from anything from like 6 hours in enduro or to 13 hours in rally a day for maybe 2 days or 14 days. Yeah, it's really varied. I think that's why I find it so interesting, is because you never know what you're going to get, and it's always different, and you go to so many different places and ride so many different terrains. It never feels like you're ever in the same place.
And so that's almost your, like the bread and butter of your career almost. And as I say, multiple world champion, so you're definitely doing something right there. But there was something else, wasn't there, recently that kind of brought you to kind of more like national attention? Would you mind talking us through the Dakar Rally and explain to people who might not know what it is? And yeah, we're dying to hear like what your experiences were there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've raced enduro at like a professional level for 11 years, and after winning 4 world titles, you always want to do something different, maybe like take that next step. And fortunately for me, Fantic offered me that next step into rallying, and then I qualified for the Dakar Rally last October, and then yeah, we headed out the day before New Year's Eve, so I was away all New Year for like a good over 3 weeks, nearly a month, which was bizarre for me. I've never been away from home that long, I don't think. So yeah, I was out in Saudi Arabia for just over 3 weeks racing the Dakar Rally, which is the pinnacle of off-road sport, really, doing that event. It was incredible. Yeah, I loved every minute of it. It was really well broadcast across social media, television. I got quite a lot of coverage for crashing and trying to fix my bike, and then also towing my teammate home when his bike unfortunately had a bit of a mechanical on the 8th day. So yeah, I got into the limelight, so to speak, for a couple of different reasons, but it's been amazing.
Obviously, just hearing you speak about the Dakar Rally, and when you're like really casually, on the 8th day, that seems like quite a big challenge. So Just for people who might not know what it is, can you just explain kind of the process and what it's like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so rallying, I describe it to people as like a big trail riding adventure. You get a map at the beginning of the day, and you've got to navigate yourself around, whether it be desert, mountain, dirt paths. You've got to navigate yourself from A to B, and it's anything from 300 kilometers to 700 kilometers a day, and you've got to kind of race at a pace that you're not going to make mistakes when you're reading the map, but also at a pace that you're going to be comfortable with, to not make any more mistakes or crash, and just do the best that you can, but at a bit of a level playing field, and not just go all out as fast as you can and then get wrong, because you end up spending more time trying to find the right path than if you'd have just taken that like step back in speed and read the map properly.
And it's in quite challenging conditions, isn't it? Could you talk us through like the heat and like under a helmet and all the all the gear? That just must be so intense.
Yeah, so for me 20 degrees is quite hot, but out there we had like 35 touching 40s, and in a morning you wouldn't think, but it's like 2 degrees, and in previous years it's been like -5 in the mornings and stuff, just because it's so open and there's no coverage of anything, so the heat doesn't stay in anywhere. So yeah, we was riding from like 2 degrees to 35 degrees, and then you've got to wear all those clothes when you set off at 2 degrees, and then as the day warms up you're getting hotter and hotter, and then you get to like the start of the special test and you're stripping off all your winter ski clothes to throw them in a cotton bag, because luckily the organisers take the winter clothes back to the start for you, so you don't actually have to carry them all day. But yeah, it's incredible really, the terrain that you go over, the varying temperatures. Yeah, I think for anyone that's like really, really interested, if they ever get their opportunity, they should definitely do it.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you talking about it, and I think, to be honest, you lost me at reading a map. Yeah, I don't think I'd fare very well.
So now you've achieved that and completed it, are there any plans to go back, or is that kind of, you feel like you've done it? Yeah, what's coming up in the future?
Well, originally I never expected to ever get the opportunity to do Dakar, because I've raced enduro for so long, and it was accessible for me and my dad to drive out in the van and do these races within Europe. There was no like massive flyaway or too expensive, transport logistics type costs. So just getting the opportunity to do Dakar was a dream come true for me, and I'm over the moon. And you never know how many you'll do, just because it is so dangerous. A lot of things happen out there, big crashes, like life-changing events and stuff. So it was, for me, the goal to go there and finish, but also finish as well as I could, because obviously I don't know if I'm going to get the opportunity again, and I didn't at the time. So I'm absolutely over the moon with how I did, and I am really pleased, because I was following the results all the time. I wanted to be in the top 50, and I was, so that was great. I won the women's class, which was like my first goal, and then turns out I was best Brit as well, so that was like the cherry on top. So yeah, as much as I would love to go back, at the minute I'm pregnant, so I don't think I'll be going back next year in January, because I'll be about 3 months post-delivering child, so I don't think I'll be quite up to it just then. But yeah, I'd never say never. If the opportunity ever arose and I felt fit and prepared enough, I'd definitely go back.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
But yeah, maybe not next year then.
No, I don't think 2025's on the cards.
You've spoken quite a bit about your dad, and I'm interested in how you got into motorbiking to start with.
Yeah, so we've always had bikes, whether it be like a little tiny Rev and Go motorbike. We had quad bikes at first, and all we ever really did at first was ride in my grandma's garden or over the fields behind the house, just because it was something fun that we did, maybe on a weekend when Dad wasn't racing, or on a Wednesday evening in the summer when it was late nights, because we always used to go to my grandma's for tea on a Wednesday, so that's what I always remember growing up. So we just did that as and when, really, maybe once a month, twice a month if the weather was nice. There was nothing too serious, and I don't think Dad ever really pushed us, just because he wanted it to be our choice and not his. And then as my brother got older, he wanted to have a go at enduro, well, just off-roading basically, and my dad was like, okay, we'll have a look into enduros. So my brother went, did that. I always went and watched, just because it's nice to go to different places, like driving out in the van with your dad and your brother, it's great. And then after a couple of years, I said, oh, do you think I could have a go, Dad? And he was like, yeah, of course, no problem. So got me the kit, got me a bit bigger of a bike than what I had, just because it was more of like a learning bike, and I needed something a bit more substantial. So I got one of my brother's old ones, and he used to follow me around on like the practice days and stuff, and I'd have an absolutely great time just learning new skills. I remember being like at the top of hills, looking at my dad like, I don't want to go down. He's like, just relax, go down, press the back brake, leave the front brake, you'll be fine. And then each hill just kind of became a little bit more natural, and every uphill came a bit more natural. And yeah, I loved it. Just every other weekend, just progressing. And then I did my first race. Dad picked this track. It was called Driffield up in North Yorkshire, and it's like an army camp. So it was quite flat, really. And he's like, well, if you go off and you fall off, you're on the flat, so you can't be upside down on a hill. You'll be fine. So I did that, and it just snowballed from there, really, racing every other weekend to progressing up like the age classes and then the ability classes when you age out of the youth classes. Yeah, so within 6 years I was gone from like a complete novice to I attended my first world round in Italy.
And there's a lot more about the way you got into the sport, and that in Rosie's interview with you in the magazine. So if people want to get a copy, and it's a really fascinating interview. It mentioned in it as well, and you already mentioned it as well a little bit earlier, about after the rally finish, you got the invite from the mayor of Wigan, so Councillor Kevin Anderson got in touch, didn't he? So did that come completely out of the blue, and what was that quite a nice touch that you got, that invitation?
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea that was coming. It was like a handwritten letter that appeared through the post. I was like, that's weird. Nobody ever really handwrites envelopes anymore. So yeah, Dad just called me. He's like, oh, you've got a letter here. I was like, all right, no worries. And I nipped round and I opened it up, and I saw like the coat of arms at the top, and I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit fancy. And Dad was like, what is it? And I was like, it's a letter from the mayor. He wants to have dinner with us. And he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, look. So we had a look. He said, oh, that's great. Make sure you reply. Don't let that go to waste. So I sent him an email reply, and he was like, yeah, when are you free? And I asked my dad to come with me. He's like, you're not taking your boyfriend? I went, no, he's not a Wiganer. You are. Come on, we'll go.
So I was going to ask as well, because there's a nice picture in the magazine of you with your dad and the mayor in the mayor's chambers. So, but yeah, I mean, as a proud Wiganer, there's such a strong like heritage of like sports and achievements like across the borough, and people wouldn't necessarily motorsports or motorcycling. People might not associate that with Wigan. So like, how is it when you're traveling the world and people are asking about where you're from, and what's their reaction about the fact that you're a Wiganer?
Yeah, most people just associate Wigan with pies. So it's always, oh, do you like pies? Do you like Wigan kebabs? I'm like, yeah, I like pies. I like pasties. But yeah, nobody ever really associates Wigan with off-road enduro or anything. I think it's because we don't really have much around us. We've got one practice track in Abram. There's like an enduro and a motocross side to it, and I've been to both of them many times. But yeah, we don't really have much around here. So no, not a lot of people associate Wigan with bikes, but it's nice, and I'm proud to say I'm from Wigan.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good for me.
Yeah, you're flying the flag across the world. So yeah, no, it's amazing.
So Jane, one of my highlights for this year has been having you to my favourite topic, International Women's Day celebrations down at the Edge. And you took part in a panel discussion, but how did that feel to kind of be involved in that and talk about your experiences?
Yeah, it was really nice to be involved in the International Women's Day evening. We had such a good evening, great turnout. We had a packed room. On the panel, it was really nice to be involved with other inspiring women. Nice to listen to their sides of stories and how they're helping the community and stuff. And now it's just a little piece to that puzzle, I guess, to finish off the panel.
So obviously being the first woman to finish in the Dakar Rally, that must be quite a unique experience. So I know everyone really enjoyed hearing from you at the event, but do you have any reflections on your experiences as a woman in a more male-dominated environment?
Yeah, it was definitely all eyes on me at some points when I was like up within the top 50. A lot of the men do not want to be beaten by women, so they do kind of like stick their elbows out and try and jump in front of you. But at the end of the day, we're all entitled to be there. We've all qualified and paid our entries and stuff, so it doesn't really bother me. I just kind of get on with it. A few of them are really nice, open and friendly, and a few of them kind of turn the nose up at you. But no, I don't mind. I've been in the sport for that long now. It's quite normal for me to be highly outnumbered by men. So yeah, I'm just happy to be there, and I do my best, and as long as I'm happy with how I've done, I don't mind.
And within the sport, do you see? Well, no, you're very much like a pioneer because of what you've achieved. Do you see yourself as a role model for like young women and girls who are trying to find their way in the sport?
It's a little bit crazy. I never really thought myself as a role model, but after Dakar, I've had so many more people just follow me on social media, send me like a congratulations message, or like, oh, I can't believe what you've done, that kind of thing. I have become a lot more in the public eye, and a lot of young girls have followed me, sent me like really nice messages and stuff. So yeah, it is nice to be, I guess, a part of people's lives in a way, because they live that experience through you, which is really nice, because some people probably don't think they could get there. So it's nice to share my experience and have that little touch towards something that someone's so looking forward to, and people watching the event, when they have someone they can relate to as well, it's really nice for them just to, be like, oh, I could be like her one day. So yeah, I do think it is really nice at the minute. There's a lot of young girls in the field, in the classes coming through, quite a few of them. I do keep my eye on how they do in their results and stuff, and if I ever get to see them, I'll go over and say hey if we're at the same races and stuff. So yeah, it's really nice.
I think it's really good to hear that. And just one reflection I've got, I've told you before how big of a fan my dad is and his trail bike club, so you're paving the way in all different kinds of circles.
I hope you showed him the selfie from the Women's International Evening.
Loved it.
I'm always happy when your dad comes up in the conversation, Rosie. So
that feels like a good time to sort of wrap up the interview, but thanks so much, Jane, for coming on. We've been really pleased to have you and feature you in the magazine. It's been really great to work with you. But yeah, thanks very much, and all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for working with me. And yeah, it's been a whole new experience for me and a very enjoyable one.
So James, we really enjoyed that interview, and we hope everyone listening did too. I've really enjoyed getting to know Jane over the last few months, as well as her agent Pippa, and I can't wait for everyone to be able to read the magazine.
Yeah, absolutely, Rosie. Yeah, Jane's our cover star. She's a great ambassador for Wigan Borough, and we've really enjoyed everything through that process. So we can't wait for everyone to see it in Borough Life magazine, which I'm sure we'll say it quite a few times during this episode, is out now. We'll be back with our next interview just after the short ad break.
Looking to find your fitness? Your local Be Well Leisure Centre has everything you need to achieve your goals. Whether you're wanting to hit the gym, go for a swim, try a group exercise class, or even discover a new sport, our all-inclusive membership has you covered across 7 different locations. Discover your local leisure centre and join today at bewellwigan.org. Feel well, live well, be well.
Hello, you're listening to the Borough Life podcast with Rosie and James. Our next interview is with Sarah and Michaela, who feature in our magazine. It's an amazing story about an initiative that we think is going to make such an impact across the country. But Rosie, it was over to you for this one.
Yeah, it was such a powerful story, and listening to Michaela's experiences was really touching. And they've both come together through something that was really difficult to create a really positive thing. Just to give you a heads up on this one, we do cover some sensitive issues around suicide and mental health. So we'll move into the interview now. I'm here with Sarah and Michaela, and would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Sarah. I'm the owner and creator of Olive Owl Flowers. So we provide wedding flowers, we do workshops in the local area, and we also preserve wedding flowers. And now we have a mental health movement.
I am Michaela. I don't have an exciting business, but I am a mother to 3 children. And my story is kind of how the mental health movement began.
So, excitingly, I think this is the first time you ever met in person, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Which, when we get into sort of the podcast, you'll see that you've obviously been through a lot together.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a bit about how you met and this mental health movement you created, but maybe just go back to the start and what happened?
So on International Women's Day, I had some spare flowers. And I was just in my head more of like, I just need to start using like flower waste for like positive things. So I was like, okay, International Women's Day, perfect day to go and send out some free flowers. So I sent out 5 bouquets in various places, like Shevington, Oral, Res, place like that. and one in Gather Station, which is the one that Michaela found.
So, Michaela, you found the flowers. Can you tell us a bit about, if you're comfortable, what you were kind of going through at the time and maybe the impact that they had on you?
Yeah, sure. So I had my little boy in August 22 and unfortunately suffered from really severe postnatal depression. I didn't actually know that I was unwell for a long time. He was 5 months at the time when I found out. Things continued to get worse, really, up until International Women's Day when I'd found the flowers. That morning, I'd taken my children to nursery. I'd had coffee with my husband, like we always do. And I basically just said, I'm not feeling too great, so I'm going to get the train into town. We're going to get some coffee, read my books, and just kind of see if that helps to improve my headspace. And I had taken myself to the train station, but I'd gone there to end my life that day. I feel it's important to say it wasn't an impulsive decision. It wasn't one that I made lightly. At that point, I'd been unwell for 18 months, really, really unwell. And it just got to the point where it was unbearable and I couldn't see any other way out, basically. I don't remember it vividly because obviously it was a traumatic experience, but I remember being quite well put together considering the circumstances. Walking past a lot of people, a lot of dog walkers, a lot of cars. And I just kind of remember thinking, I just looked like a normal person with a normal day. But in that moment, I was clearly in a crisis. I got to the station and no one was there on the platform. And I was just stood at the platform. I was waiting for the train. And in the corner of my eye, I saw this bunch of flowers on the seat under the shelter. And it just kind of took me out of my headspace for a second. And I looked at them and I just thought, oh, how strange. Like someone's left the flowers. Maybe they've been left for someone, or I thought maybe they've got a tag on. Maybe I can return them to who they're going to or whatever. And I'd seen obviously that Sarah had left the flowers and it said adopt me on the tag. I thought, does that mean I can take them? Like, what does this mean? And because it was International Women's Day, there was a quote on it that said, where there is a woman, there is magic. And I remember just kind of like my train of thought had just stopped. And I just thought it wasn't a coincidence that they were there at that time, that I was the only one at the station, that it was on that day, that it was on that time. And they just kind of held me for long enough until other people arrived on the platform. And there was just something about finding them that day, that place, that told me that maybe I did matter and maybe actually this wasn't the end. And I didn't know what that would look like, but something kind of just made me pause. And then that's when I contacted Sarah, maybe a day after or... Yeah.
And was it a week or so later you shared it on Twitter, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've got a Twitter that isn't like my personal Twitter, but it kind of just shares like my experiences with mental health and my journey. And it kind of blew up on there and then came back to you, didn't it?
Because I don't have Twitter. So people were emailing me and texting me, oh my God, have you seen this? Oh my God. I learned a bit more about your story from that post. You didn't write a lot,
No.
but I just learned a bit more about you. And then I messaged Michaela and was like, it's very clear, and even what you thought is that like it was for a reason that this happened.
How does it feel? Like obviously we're now a bit of time away from that, and how does it feel to you, Sarah, to kind of know that your small act of kindness kind of had that impact?
Still a bit overwhelming, really, and like I feel like sometimes people are going to me, well done, and I'm like, I didn't do anything, and that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because I'm not a firefighter or a nurse, so I didn't go out that day and be like, I'm gonna save someone's life. It was just, I guess, the act of kindness that did. But I'm very grateful that we've met today, but I do feel like I've known Michaela a long time already. And now we've got this movement going. It does all feel like it was meant to be.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about the movement and how this has spread, really.
Yeah, so this has kind of ballooned. We did not see it coming. The biggest thing I would say is I'm so glad that I messaged Sarah that day. And when Sarah got back in touch with me and said, I'm thinking about starting this, like, what do you think? I was just like, let's do it. Like, can I be involved? Can we do it together kind of thing? And so Sarah launched Petals of Positivity, which is our mental health movement. Sarah, you're probably better to explain the florist aspect of it, and then I can explain the other side of it.
So in the floral industry, you will always have waste. Like with any business, you're going to have a bit of waste. And obviously, it's not the goal in business life to have waste, but it is a thing. So my kind of message is, rather than throwing flowers in the bin, if you've got the time, just wrap them up and send them out in the local area, in the parks or train stations, anywhere like that where people are going to pass and see them. I think rather that than let them go to waste. And loads of florists have got on board with it. I think we've got about 48 now florists signed up, and that's from like all over. Like we've got people from like North Highlands of Scotland, like so north. We've got people from Kent, Cambridge, Birmingham, Wales. Like it's amazing. So what we're saying is, if you pledge to sign up, all you need to do as a florist is, if and when you've got the flowers.
Yeah, so people that aren't florists but want to get involved, there are ways that we can do that. So florists are usually extremely busy, especially around wedding season or Mother's Day, Christmas, those kinds of things. So one of the ways you can help is by helping the florists to leave the flowers, maybe helping them to package them, helping them decide where they can go, where they can be put. But also I would say probably bigger than that is just spreading the word, really.
Yeah.
So approaching your local florists to say, have you heard about this campaign? Is this something you want to be, a part of? Just spreading the word, really, like to your social networks.
Even sharing it.
Just sharing it, yeah.
And you were saying that you've got some a dedicated social media channels set up now.
We do,
where can people find those?
So it's just on Instagram at the minute. It's Petals of Positivity campaign. On there, it's got links for florists, non-florists to sign up. And it's also got a link to the blog that I did that just surmises everything, basically, and how you can sign up. What I would say, if you're a florist and you do sign up, we have stickers available. So you can buy these, but you can also add on an extra fee, and we're kind of saving it up, and then we're going to give that to a mental health charity. But also I'd say, please put like Take Me Home on or Adopt Me, because it's just so classic in our culture that if you see flowers, you might think that there may be memorial flowers, but also I think you'd think you're being cheeky by taking them. So it's so important to put on like Take Me Home or Adopt Me. Just write on like Adopt Me and stuff.
Well, it sounds like it has the potential to be a really powerful movement, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Michaela, and Sarah, again, for coming on. It's been really, really good to hear. And if you do want to read any more about the story, follow them on social media, or even read the Borough Life magazine, which it features quite heavily in. So yeah, thank you both so much.
Thanks for having us.
Rosie, we're at the end of another episode. I really feel like we've packed a lot into this one. Some amazing guests as ever, but it's an important time of year for us, given that the magazine is out now. So Rosie, where do people find all the extra Borough Life content?
So as well as being delivered to every home in the borough, you can find our magazines in council buildings. So that might be a library, a museum, a life centre. So make sure you go and pick one up if you can. It's free and packed with good stories. If you'd like some bonus content, you can head to wigan.gov.uk/Borough Life. And there you'll find our Borough Life Plus pages, which is all the stuff we couldn't fit in the magazine. Head there, and also, of course, follow us on social media. We're always updating there.
Thanks, Rosie. So I think the only thing to say is we'll be back next month with another episode of the Borough Life podcast.
Yep, we'll see you then.